Hello, my name is Doris Fiebig and this is a tutorial from sculptcookie.com. In this tutorial, which is about planes of the head, I will first show on this example here, this is Jacob, a sculpt of mine, what planes of the head are and how we can use it for sculpting. Then we will sculpt a head consisting just of planes, like this example here. And in the last part, we will turn this boxy representation of a head into a somewhat more realistic head, and I'll show how we can approach this. So let's start with studying this sculpt here and to see what planes of the head are. We see when I turn around him, that the left side is realistically sculpted, a little stylistic, but essentially realistic proportions and realistic forms. And his left side is composed of planes. That is planes of the head. So we see, for example, that the forehead here is composed of a plane in the middle, a plane here on the side, which is about 45-degree angle, and a plane for the temples. And the brow ridge area is composed of smaller planes. Let's zoom in to see this. One plane here, one which connects to the large plane of the front, and here a plane for where the brow will sit. So when we look at this, and we would do it for other sculpts too, the composition of the planes looks similar, same structure, but the proportions are different when we have different heads. So this is not random how these planes are built, but follow a principle. So let's see how we find, for example, this plane here. When we look at the side, we see here an area. Here is an indent, a vague indent, and here is a bone ridge. And this part in the middle it is not a plane, it is somewhat rounded, but essentially a plane. So we search in the head for the strong changes. Here by the bone ridge is a strong change, and this gives the stylized edges here for our planes. And the same here when we look at this head here. Here is a curve, and this makes that the rounded shape here in the front is broken up into two parts, one which belongs to this rounded shape, that is this one, and then the other goes to the bone ridge here, and here we see the brow area, and this we see when I change is that it is not a plane, it is rounded, but we can approximate it by a plane like this one. And here this, for example, is the highest point of the cheekbone, and we see this here also, the highest point. When I rotate a little, we see it's about here, this line. And in this way we walk over the whole sculpture and can find the planes. So let's finally look at the hair. Here on this side, the hair looks very complicated and elaborate, but actually it is not. It is composed, as this side shows, of very simple forms, which I have derived from the sculpt by planing off these elaborate hairs. So I erased the details, so to say. And actually when we sculpt and we want to have a good sculpt, it is good when we always think of these planes, of these simple forms, and get these very clear, and then add on top the detail. So even though when you are more experienced with sculpting, you would never sculpt really the planes of the head, but you always think of these planes and simple forms and try to get them as clear as you can, and only then you will go over your sculpt and add the details. When you take care of these forms first, the sculpt will be good in the end. Nothing can happen when you add details. Nothing bad can happen when you add details. But when you start adding the details before you have these forms clearly stated, you must be very lucky when you come out with a good sculpt. Okay, so what is this useful for? For one, the simplification of the head is easier to sculpt. So we can start with this simplification and then round it off, so to say, to get a realistic realistic sculpt. And it is also good for measurements. So when we have figured out where on our reference head are these separating lines for the planes, then we can measure. For example, we can measure how long is this edge here. In real, there is no edge. But when we make this simplification, we have a definite edge that we can measure. We can measure how long it is. We can measure what is the angle in the side view. We can measure, is there an angle in the front view? In this case, it is straight. And so on. So we have a few spots, a few points which are important for measuring. And these are the points where the corners of these planes are, and the edges are the important edges for measuring. So these are the two uses of the planes, and now we want to jump over to our other example here, and we want to start to sculpt a planar representation of the head like this one. And so let's begin with this. So we have this cube here, and I prepare it quickly for sculpting by going into edit mode, subdivide it a few times, something like that. It's okay. Then we don't need this anymore. And we go into sculpt mode. I like to use the clay strips brush in the beginning with strength 1 and the little auto smoothing, front faces off. I like to use the rectangular curve now, and for stroke I have the spacing set to 5%. I enable dynamic topology, and in the beginning I start with a larger size, something like that, and collapse short edges on. And to make things easier, we enable the mirror on x-axis, so we sculpt only one side and the other is automatic. So let's remove this 3D cursor. So here's our front, and so we start by first getting the profile about, and this skull shape here is given by our cube. So we need to extend here for the jawline, and we can do it with a scroll so that you can see what I'm doing, with a snakehook brush and a large brush size. Zoom out a little, there's again this curve, and we pull it out a little and a little to the front, there's a curve here, and even a little more. Okay, something like that. And now when we look here at our head, we see it's much smaller in width than it is in depth. So we want to have this too, and for that I use a scrape brush and plane off the sides. And when we look from the top here, so go into, no, I will just want to put in here this local view so that the others, again, are not. Why is this now again? Now it's in local view, the others are not destroyed. When we look here from top, we see that it's angled to the front, and we want to create this here too. So we jump back into sculpt mode, enable again dynamic topology, and now we scrape off from the sides to get this angle about. Okay, that was more. Okay, I've made it a little too much here on top, so we add again a little material to correct this mistake, and then we plane it down. Okay, so the next thing is that we want to create this skull form here with the planes, and so I go, oops, back here, plane this off, make this round here, and then down, and it curves inside here a little, so make a little more, and now I plane off. We see here is a plane running and then down. We do this here too. Okay, something like that. And now you see already that this ridge we see here strongly is forming here. So so that we can see clearly, we lower the detail size even more, and I emphasize this ridge here so that we can see it better. And with the scrape brush, I go over, and here I need to add a little so that we don't lose it. Okay, something like that. So I played it more. Okay, so now we draw in the hairline. Whoops, come here. We want to create the side view, so I draw in the hairline. So here will be my hairline, and I connect it with the other parts and immediately try to establish these planes again, and this plane here front. Oops. That's funny what happens when you record tutorials. Things that never happen when you sculpt by your own. Okay, we need to pull out this a little more. And fill in and plane it. And there's a ridge we don't want. And now we have it. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the side view. So we have approximately this shape. It should curve in a little more. But before I want before I do this, I want to do two things. I want to pull out the nose, and I want to pull out the neck. So let's start with the nose, with the neck. For that, I use a mask brush and mask the area which about should be the neck, and then invert, go to the snake hook brush and pull out this area. And now I try to match about the shape here, so I have to press in here, and yes, it's not okay. And now I mask off even more. Yes, and I pull out to the sides. That's wonderful for the scrape brush, for the snake hook brush, so that we get another bust representation. Something like that. We concentrate on the, it's too high. Don't like mistakes. Okay, so that will do. So we can remove the mask, clear mask, and now correct here the forms. We see we need to angle more in, so planer in here and here, and so we see now this angle forming and something like that. And I can round off this again here, as they did with this. This rounding off here is not so important. So we have the side view approximately, and just make a plane here for the. Okay. So now let's look at the. We wanted to pull out the nose. And so where's the nose? When we look here from the side view, we have three parts. The one part is from the nose tip to the chin, this length, and this is about the same as the length from the nose tip to the brow line. And then this is again the same height as from the brow line to the hairline. So that's with a grease pencil, draw the here, 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 and here. We see the distances are always the same. So we can, now we know where our nose is. It is about here, and we need to pull this out in side view. So I pull it out first approximately, and then I will correct the form. So that is, so when here the brow line will be, so let's carve in a little to see this. Nose needs smaller, and now we see the three parts about. So I cut in deeply here to indicate where the nose will be, and we see here is an indent, and this indent is on the eye line. So I cut in this indent clearly, and we want to make planes, of course. Plane in the nose, plane in the nose underneath and from the side. Okay, there's too much material here. So that's, and now we have this indent, make it even more clearly. Yes, now we have zoom in a little more. We see better this line here already. So I cut in more, even more clearly with the crease brush. and clean up the plane here. And now we have the line where our eye will be, and I draw it with a crease brush. And the eye line is in each head of an adult in the center of the head. So when I look from here to the eye line and down to the chin, these two lengths are the same. That's fine, that's good. And now we need to indicate where the jawline is. The jawline meets at the, here's the eye line, and here's the center of the ear, and the jawline meets just in front of that. So I can now draw this in. So let's draw this line in so that we can see. And the center of the head, we can measure it, but we can also look. It is about here. Indicate, and then we see it's about right, and the jaw is a little angled like this. Okay, so we need to that is all fine. Okay, so what is next is we want to create this plane here in the front. So when we forget for a moment all the detail we are seeing here, and then it is a curved plane going down. And I want to create this now, so I take my script brush and I scrape down a curve like this. Yes, let's cut in a little deeper here at the eyes. Don't forget, don't remove this line. And if it's vanishing, then we simply redraw it. So the depth from the side is good. Could be a little more even, so we cut in a little more. And now we use a script brush to establish the planes here. We forget in the moment about the eye, we add this later. And so I first roughly create this plane, and then this plane I spoke about, which curves down here. And you see, while I do this, and when I strengthen here this flat, we see this curve appearing that is very strong here on the side. So let's remove this grease pencil now. So we see this already. Let's emphasize a little more for the sake of the tutorial so that we can see it better. So we have this already, and now we need to do two things. Let's start with a jawline, really bring this to life. So again, with a script brush, or we could use a clay brush. Yeah, let's do this clay brush like so. And here is behind the jaw, and let's bring. We know this is here the cheekbone that is coming out, so we add here our cheekbone, and the widest part is just in front of the ear. And now we add here more material to keep the plane. Yes, I see this head is becoming wider. We can correct this later on and push it smaller when we want, if we want to. We my main goal is not to copy this exactly, but show you the way how to approach this. So I'm not so concentrated on really reproducing the other one, but more on showing you what to do to get the essential parts correct. Okay, so that's good. And now let's plane this one behind and this, and here is material missing. We see we have no chin now, so we add material for the chin. You could pull it out also. Look from the side. Yes, we have the nose angle differently. I like to correct this one, so pull it down a little. And now we need to add here material for the mouth area, and I think yes, and now underneath need to be almost straight here. Yes, that's good. And we see the way it connects here to the neck is there's a triangle forming, that is very strong muscle that runs from here to the little indent here in front of the head. And this is always a straight line, it's tension on this. And so we need to add here the material to get this angle. And you see with the settings I have for the clay strips brush, it also is creating almost like plates. And now let's make a male wrist, which has here kind of this Adam's apple. It's German. I hope it's the name in English too. Okay, so we have this. Just to be concise, and I don't want to fuss too much about these things because we concentrate on the head. Okay, so now let's compare. We should do this very often. Where we see a problem with our head, we see here this head, and this is a normal, is a usual way. It's the widest point is about here, and then it angles down slightly with lines. And here I have created a curve. That's not good. So I need to correct this, and I go here and use a grab brush and correct this by just pulling gently here on the side, so to get about the correct size. And I see I have too much width here, so I correct this, and also this point here. You see how fine this would be about here. That sits about okay. So, but my jaw, my cheekbone is not wide enough. Make it a little smaller, and a little wider. Okay, and I think we are getting somewhere. Okay, so now I should emphasize these planes more, than we can more easily compare. The comparing is now still difficult because I haven't established these planes here too clearly. So let's do this now. Let's first draw in the border between these planes, and the other is here. And then using the straight brush, we plane in this area And yes, maybe we need a little material here again, and plane in, yes, about. Now we start to define these edges, so this is a smaller detail. So let's go down considerably in detail size, so that when we go over, you see now the edge is much finer than what I did in the beginning. And you see, you can by pressing, push these edges. Okay, so let's compare. Yes, I think that is quite fine. Now this is straight. Okay, now let's move on with a nose, or yes, let's do the nose now more clearly. So we cut in even more. Plane this immediately. Oops. Oops, too much. Okay, like this. Makes it. Let's zoom in here and the nose. Now I need to cut in deeper here and add the nose wings. Yes, about this. More. Too wide. This is all too wide, so let's remove with the clay brush. It's quicker. Yes, now it's okay. And we put in these planes. The most important is this plane underneath here. So I establish this one, then here's a plane, and here's a plane, and one is on top of, not enough material, on top of here. Something like that, okay. And let's round it off a little and extend this plane. Okay, now underneath, add this plane underneath, and now we can carve in the nose holes. We could leave this out for a planar representation, but I like doing it. Okay, so the crude rough nose. So now let's look at the mouth area. Mouth area, we see here is a mound, and we have already a little indication here, but not enough. So now mouth goes to the half of the nose, so we add material. Oops, let's first into sculpt mode. I add the material for the mouth. And this is the chin. When we see the chin is a flat in the front. Yes, add a little more here, so it's a flat in the front, and then it will be rounded off on top of that. So let's do this, and now we carve in this line here that goes from the nose wings down. We see it here already almost. Oops, and carve in this line. Okay, And now we create this ridge. This is the border of this plane we see here. Okay, so it goes from the nose wing down. Where this point is also depends highly on the people, but here in this we have it like that, so I create it here also like that. And so we need to push this plane to match this one. I like to do, well, let's first remove some material. It goes quicker this way. And establish this line again so that we can see better. And now scrape in. This plane, and let's now make the transition correct here. And so we need to add a little more so it slants down correctly. Okay. And now we are ready to bring in the mouse. The mouse, we see here clearly the mouse, we divide this area here in 3 parts. One part is here, the next part is here, and the next part is the chin, and these lengths here are about the same in each people. This example here has a chin a little larger, but it's about a third. So we can cut in here where our mouse line will be. It's the first third to the side. No, that one's quite high. And remove material too far. The lower lip is farther back than the top lip. That is also in most people case. And now add here a little more to bring this out. And now we plane it to create this plane here. And then make the side planes. And now we add material again for the lips, for the planar representation of the lips, I should say. And yes, it's coming along nicely. And here we have the mouse line straight, so I want to have this too, so I correct my line here by cutting a little more like this and grabbing and pulling this down a little, and then now we clean up the mess. Okay, now we can add the material for the lower lip. And we see the lower lip here is in this planar representation divided in 3 parts, which show more the shape of the outer form of the. I see I have the mouse too. It's also a common mistake what is happening. This is how the mouse line should be, because there are the teeth inside. Mine here, what I sculpted, are way too angular. So I need to correct this. I take the grab brush and pull out here. You see? And this way I can correct. So it's always necessary to look at all sides so that we can get the correct presentation. So now we make this shelf structure here underneath, so we need to make these planes, and make this plane here on the side and here. And this, while we do, these lines are forming, and we see we need to have these lines going sidewards, ours going inwards, so we can grab these and pull these apart so that we get an idea where they should be, and then we correct the sculpt by. And now you see we get in this round here what we need, and we correct for everything. This should be a plane about, and then scrape it clean. Scrape in the chin area. Okay, and now the only part what is missing here on the mouth is an important muscle which runs here, and we add this now with the clay. I should have shown you which brushes I am using. We add here this muscle here, so it goes to this, and then it goes to this corner here about. And we place a plane over to and fill in a little material here to make the transition not as hard as I have done it. Okay, so now let's quickly add the ears. I'm still not quite happy with the shape here. Let's see what is wrong. Yes, we see here here's mass missing. No? Here's it's much rounder. So to correct this, I use a red brush and pull it out. You see, we can. It's never too late to correct mistakes, and this here is below. That is fine too, and we have to make it rounder here even more, so I like to do it like this, and like this. Yes, it's much better. Okay, now we are ready to put in the ear. We first draw about the where we want to have it. The ear is a little high. It's with a grease pencil. It should stay under this line, and here's a nose. Oops, and it should be between these lines, and here's an angle. Not that. Draw. And here's an angle. So we draw this in, the angle, and the line is here, so we have it about here, and here's a line, so up to here, and we fill in a little with mask, and then let's pull it out, or mask before we pull makes things easier. And now we can pull it out so that when we get about 30-degree angle when we look from top, and about the shape. Okay, remove the mask, and the ear is not part of this tutorial, so we just represent it by this simple shape. It angles down here actually a little, so we can put in here an extra little plane. Okay, so the only part what is missing is the eyes. Let's do them quickly. And so we rotate this head again and look closer to the eyes. So we and the brow area is missing too. Whoa, we really need to hurry up to finish our sculpt. So let's make these lines here clearer. You see that now it's shaping up. And I want to see this plane clearer. Okay, now we fill in the eyes. So where are the eyes? The eyes, the width between the eyes is the same as the width of an eye, and the eyes start on the vertical line of the nose wings and then go, the nose wings are thus one eye apart, and so we know where to put the eyes. So here my nose wing is actually a little wide, so let's make it a little, yes, something like that, yes, and zoom in. So it should be as wide as the nose wings, and I create the mass we see here. It's one blob, something like that, and it sits on the plane. So I fill in the missing parts here, and you see while I fill this in, automatically this shape here occurs. So we just need to cut in a little to make it more clearer. So, and cut in here, here. So here's a peak at the first third, and here's a peak at the last third. So it's a little too far, something like that. So yes, now let's scrape in the planes. Now I need a smaller brush size, scrape in the planes, and here on top we need to first do it with a clay brush, scrape in the plane. Now I remove the material for where we could put the eye. Oops, remove. And let's do with the draw brush because quicker. So here we can put a ball inside to get an eye, so I don't sculpt the eye this time, but just make a little space so that we can see the lower borders of the eyelids. So I draw in first with a crease brush where these lines will be. Then I emphasize the lines by adding a little material to the sides, and then I plane over and oops. Okay, now we have enough there that we can plane it. Okay, so our guy has, the ears are not very well, so I grab them a little and pull them in just a little. And I think, let's see, we have everything in right for the head. It looks a little, we forgot this line here, and that's why it's so let's rotate that we can see where this line is. That is, go in here, we cut in the crease brush, it starts here below the ear and goes to the mouth line. So cut in deep and remove material with the clay brush around this area, and also slant this in from this side. And now we scrape in the planes. Let's see. Yes, he's looking a little different. Now let's see why you see. Here the mouth area is different, right? The mouth, let's see. Yes, the mouth could be a little wider. Here we see how it should be. These corners of the mouth, when we go straight up, are where the pupils will be. Ours here are a little too narrow, so we correct this by grabbing, and you see I have to this undo. Okay, disable this for a moment and grab a little wider. Oops, something like that, and it looks different because this slant here is different. So let's pull it out. And you see you could fuss as long as you wish to make it the same. But that is not our intention here. We just wanted to have this flat planar head as a tool for learning, and it serves well like it is now. So now we are ready to start sculpting over to get the more realistic presentation, and for that I go now down to the let's in local view to the other one and go in local view for this one. Okay, so now we are ready to turn this one into a sculpt like this one. So now we the fun part begins. When I look here at it, I see that somehow I messed the proportions, so let's grab this one and pull the nose a little. So I spoke about the thirds, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and my nose here is a little too low. So I just pull it up and just a little bit. Yes, that's more realistic. Okay, so let's do the fun part. Enable dynamic topology again, and now we go over our planar sculpt and make it more realistic. So the first thing is, of course, we simply remove these edges by scraping over them, and we need to do it very carefully. It shouldn't happen too much. So We need to add here a little more material for the bone. And of course we want to have the jaw a little rounded here. The bone inside is a little rounded usually. And we add a little material here. And we don't want to have him too hungry looking. We add material for the cheekbone, a little, not too much, round it off. And we need to add the muscle here from the nose. It runs here over this plane and down. So let's zoom in a little more. It runs down like this on these planes. And it meets with the cheekbone from the side. Yes, okay. So it's now just, no, not just, but it's mainly removing the hard transitions we made in the beginning while building up this sculpt. But I think that is also a fun part, so we fill in here. It's good when you see this edge. And now let's make the lips a little nicer. The lips consist of 3 parts. This one, and the top lip, 3 parts. That was a little too much. We need to indent here. And the lower lip. Yes, a very small one. Okay, that's a small one. Fine. It's fine with us. So in the lip, and there's a little indent in the middle. This guy is not happy. And let's make it like it looks most people round off. And be careful to not remove too much of these planes, because these planes are what makes our sculpt very well readable in the end. So if your sculpt in the beginning was solid, this planar sculpt, then you can have now fun with it, and it will look at least realistic. I want to cut in this more. Planes were not, should have gone in a little more. So add this muscle here, so details like that. Now go over the nose. We want to do this quickly, so this will not be a polished sculpt in the end, but just to show you how you would go. I see I forgot to indicate, and we know we need to add here material so that he does not look surprised. Round off this. Here is almost nothing to do. Round off. And depending on his age, he would have maybe some sagging under the eyes like this. Okay, fine. Now let's add a little mask for the hair. So this is the skull we have, and only a little indicated of the hair, so we need to add a lot of material for the hair. So we try to do it uniformly, and let's do such a standard haircut. And add here in the middle. And now for the front view, I disable in the moment the symmetry, so I can make something like that. It has his hair like So carve in where the separation is. Okay, we don't want to fuss too much. And okay, so we have forgotten in our planar representation this brow area part, so we add it now. This was this almost triangular shape, like so, and we round it off. Okay, and now smooth it a little. I let that to work now with the smaller strings to have a little more control. Okay, it's coming along nicely. And let's enable the symmetry again, so that I don't need to work on both sides. So what is wrong? The jaw could be a little more rounded, not much. Okay, that was good. The ear, we leave the ear like it is, because, well, just indicate it to make it more sense. So a very crude ear here, just so that we have something to look at. The ear is not part of this tutorial. And finally the remaining bits here on the nose. Smooth off. This plane should stay strong. Carve in deeper. Round this off a little, round this off a little, put in more of this muscle on the side here. Yes, cut in here a little. And you could do also this complete nose in the planar representation, and then it would be even more easy to fill in the missing parts. Okay, I think this will do for now. We leave the neck out because this was a tutorial about the mouse, and we see that let's put in some eyes for him so that we can see if the eyes are correct. So I go into object mode and put here an eyeball. Let's look to the front. Add mesh sphere. Align to view. I want to have align to view. And then I scale it down. It approximately fits inside. And now grab backwards, grab Y. Okay, and a little higher, grab Z. Okay. And we see a little backward, grab Y again. Okay. And now snap curve to center. Make the center of the object to the cursor, transform object to origin to 3D cursor, and now mirror, Control M on the x-axis. I forgot to duplicate it, okay. Duplicate the object, snap it back into the place, Control M, mirror on the x-axis. Now we have two eyes. And now we can correct the last things here for the eyes. We'll go into sculpt mode. Oops. And with this dangerous thing to do, go into sculpt mode. And we want to first deepen here with the enable dynamic. Deepen here. And then we see the eyelids here are not coming out enough to hold the ball. So I grab this and gently pull in the correct direction. And this is a little too far out. Gently pull in. Just eyelids are straight. Okay. And here we have it, a realistic presentation for the face made out of a head of planes. Okay, this finishes the tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something.